Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our European Draft Glory franchise mode here in NHL 26. So in last episode, if you did not catch it, we had round 3 against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and unfortunately for us, we had kind of a tough time playing against a team like that. I'm not too sure if it's because they had cheese goaltenders, but unfortunately we lost. But I think if we would have got to the finals this year, we probably would have lost as well because Nashville was just a really good team this season. So I'm not too sure if we would have won the Stanley Cup if we could have gotten around further, but at least we had a good playoff run this year, and we could hopefully build upon that next year. Obviously, there's some pretty big pending free agents this offseason, so it's going to be interesting to see what our team is looking like going into next year, but I think we should pretty much be just as good this year, or next year, as we are this year. So excited to see what this team could build around and see if any of these kind of guys on our team get a bit of growth. Like I was saying, we might be losing some big players this offseason because you could see Urquhart is a pending UFA. There's a good chance he's gone because he's going to be demanding too much money. He ended up growing into an elite defenseman, which is something I really didn't expect considering when we drafted him, he was a second round pick. So this is probably one of the best picks of this franchise mode in a way. Great DFD, but unfortunately he's just going to be demanding probably too much. So he's probably going to be gone. There is a chance that Law might be gone as well, depending on his asking price at free agency / re-sign stage. So we'll see if we bring back the Lawman or not, but obviously a very good physical presence on the team. We have a bunch of RFAs to re-sign with Polak, Richardson, and Fernandez, but we should easily get them all back. Polak and Richardson, at least with Urquhart leaving, should get an elevated role, which is good to see because they've been deserving it for quite some time at this point. And then we also might be changing up our bottom six because you can see Barrett, Bradford, Mullen are all pending UFAs. So there is a chance I will be letting go at least 2 of them, maybe even more of them, and just kind of replacing them with some younger guys. Because if we go to in the system, you can see that Berkowitz is ready for the NHL, and also Henry is technically ready for the NHL. Mahalik might be, so I think this might be the best chance we get at basically redesigning that 4th or 3rd line. So we are probably going to make a decent amount of changes there. And then in terms of goaltending, there is a good chance that Ambuhl and coach might be having a chance to fight for that backup job this season. So I probably will resign all of them, I would say, in a way, but I would feel like coach should maybe be the backup just because he's the younger of the options. Like, I could technically let go of Ambuhl in the offseason if I really want to, even without any NHL games, but I feel like we should probably still give him a chance. So our goaltending is still going to be really strong. Simic, of course, we're going to have to be letting go Forster, though, which is kind of disappointing because I did want to win a Stanley Cup with him. So there's going to be some overhaul changes on this lineup, but I think we're still going to be just as good next season as this season. So anyways, with that said, let's get you guys' comments and you guys have to say about last episode, and then we'll get into the 2040 draft and off-season. So the first comment is from I'm the Quiet One, who says, the potential change in Simic to a low franchise is funny. Maybe he'll become that. Maybe you should let go of some older 3rd and 4th liners so you can fit some of the newer guys in the roster space. And yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking as well. Obviously, it's kind of weird that Simic's a low franchise. Low franchises usually don't really grow much, so I think he's still going to pan out as an exact leap, but it's kind of funny to see about that. And then like what you were saying about getting rid of some of the older 4th liners and 3rd liners, I think that's probably the play. Likely, my guess is I'm going to be letting go of Barrett and Mullen potentially. These guys have been good players in the past, but I just don't think it's necessary to hold on to them. Obviously, Kuda's going to be playing probably like 4th or 3rd line right wing. And then, of course, also, we could let go of Bradford too, actually, for that matter too. So maybe I'll let go of Barrett, Bradford, and Mullen. There's a chance because, like I said, with obviously Henry being ready for that 4th line center spot, I think obviously he'll take that over quite easily. Doesn't really have the best face-off stats, though, which is not great, so maybe I'll hold on to one of those centers, and then Henry could play the right wing instead. Mahalik obviously might make the NHL depending if he gets a lot of growth or not. He was really good in the AHL last season, so I'm hoping he jumps up to like a 79 or an 80, something like that, just to give us a little bit more depth down the middle. And then, of course, Berkowitz is going to be kind of exciting as well as a 78. He should be pretty much ready to go. You can see he's listed as a depth forward. He probably could be a 3rd-line scoring forward as early as next season. So I'm excited to see the younger guys in the NHL, but it is going to kind of suck letting go of some of the guys that have been here for quite a while. And the last and final comment is from Senator Taco, who says, $5 million plus for a 30 to 40 point guy in Law is too much. You have enough talent in the coming up in the system where one of the veterans could take over a spot on the roster. I like Malhotra and Cutler in the draft. And Yeah, that is a bit too much for somebody like Law. Obviously, I would like to bring back Law, but if he's going to actually demand that when we get to the re-sign stage, there's no way we're probably going to bring him back. He is a really fun player in a way, just because of the fact that he's obviously very physical, but his point production has never been super insane. Like, I guess his career high was 47 points, which is really solid, but obviously at the same time, you could see the penalty minutes, 1,596 in 892 games. So if he demands too much, obviously in the re-sign stage, we probably won't be bringing him back, but it will be interesting to see what his career penalty minutes are like once he decides to retire. So, and also he was kind of aggressive in the playoffs. I didn't realize how much penalty minutes he picked up for us during the postseason, 43 through those 18 games. So maybe letting go of him will also make our team a little bit more disciplined going forward, which is good. So I think there is a good chance that he probably will be heading to the free agent market unless something changes in his asking price. And also if his role actually drops back down to a third line forward, because I can't be willing to play him in the top 6 anymore. So anyways, with that said, I think we're ready to get into the draft. Saturn Talk was mentioning about Cutler and also Malhotra. Let's actually go back to those guys again first before we look at the draft again, because I honestly had no idea what this draft class was going to be like going into the last episode. And then we found a couple interesting players, so we're going to look at them a little bit more in depth here. And obviously it depends on if they're available when we get to our selections. I think both of them are actually, yeah, Cutler was supposed to go really late in the draft. He's kind of an intriguing player. Like, he's probably going to be in our AHL top 6 next season, maybe NHLers, but you could see that he's 2 years out. He's 19 years old. He's got really good shooting categories. So I think he could be a really good X factor of a pick. He's also listed as a gem, so he's definitely going to be one. And he was also mentioning about Malhotra, which I think is obviously also a great option for our team as a low elite. He's not NHL ready yet, but he could also play in the AHL and give our team a little bit more depth in terms of our prospect pool down there. So obviously those two guys are definitely going to be picks. Aside from that, the rest of the draft class, I have no idea what else we're going to pick up, but I hope that we can still find some steals and continue to build up our prospect pool, because obviously that's important with the fact that our team is getting a bit older. All right, so let's hop on into the 2040 draft and see what we can snag up here. And hopefully it's the best draft for us yet. Probably not the case, though. Also, by letting go of people like Urquhart and stuff this offseason, though, we're going to be getting a lot more money back, which is good because we do need to re-sign Roger Green and stuff like that at the end of the season. So it's going to be interesting to see how much those guys demand currently. So anyways, let's see what ends up happening here in the top 5. Obviously, Vegas has got first overall, followed by Minnesota, Columbus, Florida, and Ottawa. So let's see what those teams snag up. So Vegas at number 1 is going to select Morozov, who is an 80 overall two-way defenseman. Yuri Morozov, there he is. No X factors, but a pretty basic two-way. Probably will generate some good growth and become a really good defenseman. Minnesota at 2 is going to select Betts, is only a 71 overall medium elite DFD. I feel like these draft class qualities have been a lot weirder than expected in the last few years, because there's been like some non-NHL ready prospects in it, which usually I feel like always the top 5 is NHL ready, but it seems like it hasn't been like that lately. But Andrew Betts going to Minnesota. He is a 71 overall DFD with medium elite potential that does have send it. So even though he is a DFD, he probably can pick up some good passes, which means that he might end up becoming more like a two-way defenseman despite being defensive. So shout out to Minnesota on that selection. Columbus at 3 will select Karpatsev, who's a 65 overall high top 6. So yeah, this draft class is kind of a weird one so far, because usually, like I said, I always expect to see at least medium elites in the first 5 selections, and I feel like we haven't really seen that lately, so I feel like I should be turning the draft class quality up a little bit, but at the same time, I don't want to cheese the system too much. But there's Nikolai Karpatsev, who is a left-wing playmaker. He's not NHL ready yet, but he should generate some good growth, being a high 6. Let's see what Florida takes at 4. They take Steos, who's a left wing 80 overall, so that's more what I expected to go 2nd overall, but the Florida Panthers will take him at 4. So there is Ariel Steos, what a name. And then the Ottawa Senators at number 5 will select Hunwick, who's in 78 overall offensive defenseman. See, like, why didn't this go earlier in the draft over to high 6 and all that? Kind of a bit strange, but nice little selection there for the Sens. And considering this guy's a right-handed defenseman too, that's actually a really solid pickup. So that's this year's top 5. Let's simulate to our pick at number 31. Obviously the latest I think we've ever drafted in this mode up to this point. But let's see what we got here. So yeah, Malhotra is probably the pick because obviously there's not really much else. There is guys like Gogol who could be an elite offensive defenseman as well. But at the same time, we don't know that for a fact. So we're going to go with the gem in Malhotra. We do kind of need right wing prospects. We don't really have a lot of right wingers on this team, so I feel like this is a good option for us. And obviously, him being a lowly power forward, he could probably end up becoming a decent goal scorer for us. So Devin Malhotra, welcome aboard. Let's see how he is. 66 overall. Kind of exactly what we were expecting with his 3-year ETA. No X factors, but he does look pretty balanced. Looks like he's got a pretty solid shot out of the gate, 2 stars. And no real weakness, of course, considering he is a power forward, but I do think that it is a pretty damn good selection. And like I said, I could probably already play him in the AHL next year if I want to. If I don't really have the room, though, maybe I'll wait a year. But I think I could probably free up some room by letting go of some veterans in the minors. So Malhotra is going to be the next generation of this team, and maybe he'll be in the NHL within a couple seasons, which is quite exciting. So nice little pick there. Let's go through the next couple picks here just to see what that defenseman was like, just because I'm kind of curious if he was a low elite defenseman or not, because I could not tell for the life of me. So when we still don't know apparently yet. Let's keep on simulating through these picks here. Ivany, medium 6. I don't remember what the guy's name was, though. Graham's medium 6. Maybe that guy was a medium 6. Smolinski was a lowly. We could not have drafted Smolinski, I'm pretty sure. But a good steal there for the Oilers, just in case you guys were wondering on that. Harkins is a medium 6. That's a decent steal for the second round. Gogol was a low lead OFD. Okay. All right, so that is definitely an interesting one. Would you guys rather have me drafted a low lead offensive defenseman in the second round or in the first round over Malhotra? Because I'm not too sure. I feel like I'd like Malhotra better just because we do need right wingers, but it would have been nice to have a low lead offensive defenseman just because Paco is getting up there in age and such. But yeah, that's kind of an interesting player. It just sucks that he doesn't go later in the draft, because if he went late second round, we would have definitely taken him, but obviously he goes earlier, so kind of sucks. But let's simulate to 64th, see if we could get anything interesting with this pick. But at least we made a good first selection. It sucks that Haniel is Swedish, because I feel like he's probably a lowly just based on the fact he's listed as a gem. He could be a low 6 too, but the next best player for us that we could actually take is Boyd. Yeah, I mean, we do need maybe some defensive prospects, but this guy's maybe a 5-year ETA, which is absolutely atrocious. There is a low 6, and there is another goalie prospect. I could always take more goalie prospects. It's not a huge issue right now, but I could take him. But then Rodriguez is also 3 years out. We do need more center depth in case we end up losing people too. So, because we are going to probably let go of some guys in that bottom 6 center area. So, Rodriguez is probably going to be the pick. But there might be argument for guys like Loins or for the goaltender in Mullen. But I think we're going to go for Rodriguez with this selection. So let's go for the small dude. Bring him in even though he's a low 6. 63 overall. Not bad. We'll see if he ends up developing as a low 6 or not. But I think it's important that we get some more center prospects for this team. Looks like he's actually not a bad shooter and passer already. So as long as we can get his face-off stats good and get those offensive awareness numbers and stuff like that higher too, I think he could be maybe a decent like middle 6 option for us if he actually does grow. All right, next pick at 97. We might already go with that other lowly because there might not be much else at this stage. There is a low 9 in Delmore, but low 9s are not really the best in the world. Damon Burrows is a 20-year-old defenseman. Actually looks like he might have some good attributes, which is kind of intriguing, even though he is 20. When is that other player supposed to go? I think not for a while still, right? Let's see. Where is the other dude? Where is he? I don't even remember his name now. Oh, yeah, Cutler. Yeah, he's not supposed to go still for a while. So I think we're going to go with that defenseman that's 20 years old just because he looks like he could be actually decent out of the gate. Is he going to be probably the best prospect in the world? Probably not. But he could still give us maybe a bit more depth in the AHL or something like that. So let's go for Damon Burrows here with the selection. He's probably going to be, my guess, a medium 7th that has a high overall, or a low top 60 that's like maybe a 60 or something like that. But let's see how good he is. And he's a medium top 60. 65 is not bad, but he is 20 years old. So He is definitely probably not going to really develop into being anything crazy, but he could still be useful. He's got some good attributes, so he could probably be good at the HL level for sure. But I'm not too sure if I'm going to sign him yet because there's another defenseman I could sign. I mean, I could use this guy always as a sixth option on our defensive core and use somebody as a healthy scratch. Yeah, he might get signed just so we get some depth to our defensive core in the minors. And considering he's already 20, he doesn't really have a lot of room to grow like the other guys that are only 18. So anyways, let's get through some more selections here. See if we could snag up anything else. I don't really need a medium bottom 6 right winger, but we could use more right wing prospects. But I'm probably going to go off the board already just because this draft class really does not seem like it's that good of one in terms of depth. There is a high fringe starter goaltender though. And I've had some luck with developing some goaltenders in the series. And then it's good to have another option just in case, because we are kind of running out of our goaltending in a way, because you think of it, Simic signs long-term right now, and Bull and Coach might be assigned to like short-term deals as backup options. Hextall is ready for the AHL, might be an NHL backup at some point in time. But we don't really have anything else aside from that, because we're probably going to be letting go Forster. So let's give ourselves another goalie prospect just to throw into the mix a bit. Even though it's going to take him a while to develop, it's good just to have an option in case we need a backup or a guy that could actually play in the AHL. So let's go for Jan Bela with this selection, I think. Yeah, Jan Bela with this selection. Boom. 57 overall, a little bit of a lower overall for a high fringe starter at 19, but like I said, just to give us a little bit more depth in that goalie spot. He isn't going to get signed till the end of his contract stuff, I think, but he could be maybe a type of guy that develops enough growth to be like a 70 overall or maybe higher than that. Like even if he gets to a 75, he could be a useful kind of depth goaltender option. So that's my thought process with that selection. All right, our last two, or actually last three selections, I think. We're going to obviously be going now for the other low lead option here at this part of the draft, which is going to be Cutler. Obviously, Cutler's kind of an exciting player, I think. I think he's going to be maybe one of the best players from this class that we take. Even though he is already 19, I just like his shooting categories, his ETA, the fact he's a gem. I think he's going to be a really good player for us, and maybe he can become a top 6 forward. Maybe he can become something like Nakamura almost in a way. So let's go for Edgar Cutler, the Croatian, which I don't even know if we have any Croats on our team, but let's bring him in. 70 overall. Wow. Okay, that's higher than I expected. So that is definitely the steal of this draft. Absolutely crazy. Just in case you wanted to get some screenshots of him and stuff, but he looks really, really good. That's definitely the type of steal you love to see in these type of modes, and I'm really, really pumped about that one. So shout out to Cutler. No X factors, but shooting categories are already a 3-star, which is really, really good at his age, of course. He's not very physical, but yeah, he should definitely be a type of guy that's going to be playing in the AHL next year. Maybe he could literally replace Burkwartz in the AHL since Burkwartz is going to be coming up to the NHL. So shout out to Edgar Cutler. I really like that selection a lot. Very excited to see how that guy develops, but let's get through our last two picks of this franchise mode. There was an enforcer that just went before our selection. That's actually kind of funny. Shout out to Will Piper, the enforcer defenseman. He's probably not going to even get an ELC from Vegas, but just kind of a fun name to say. All right. Couple more selections. Do we have anybody pinned left? Yes, we do. Anybody with okay potential, maybe? Tough to say. Nickel looks like he could be a medium 4, but he's probably not. Aside from that, there's not really a lot of other options to us. There is also Jamie Houston, which always makes me think of Jim Houston since it says Jay Houston, but who was supposed to go the earliest out of the players that are options for us? Walls as a low 6D, 20 years old, not really that intrigued by that. I think I'm going to go for Jude Nickel with the selection. Might as well give us another defensive prospect, and he's only 18, so welcome aboard to Nickel. Medium 7th, yeah, he's not going to get probably an ELC either, but we had to kind of take a risk with that selection. And our last pick of the draft, honestly at this stage, probably not going to get much else, so let's sort by potential and see if there's anybody from a country that we could draft from that might have good potential. Maybe Malachi Kluber-Dance? No weakness, no strength. He looks pretty trash for a 19-year-old. Houston's probably only a low 9, but it might have to be Houston in this draft. There is a French starter goaltender here as well. That's not supposed to get drafted in blue just 5 years out. If I wanted just to give us another okay goalie prospect. That's not a bad option at this stage, I don't think. Yeah, you know what? Let's go for another fringe starter goalie prospect. Since he's actually got some potential, I know he's not supposed to get drafted in this year's draft, it looks like, but we might as well take a chance on him. And that way we could at least have some goalies just in case we actually need them down the road. So, Maximus Blugis, welcome aboard. 53 overall. That's not bad for going undrafted almost, or projected to be going undrafted. I'll definitely take it. That's probably one of the better 7th round picks you could get, because if you can't grab a lowly, you might as well grab yourself something that at least has an okay potential. Like, I'd rather take a fringe starter over a low top 9, a medium bottom 6, or low bottom 6. So I think that's an okay selection. Wasn't expecting to pick 2 goalies in this year's draft, but I will take those type of things just to, like I said, help out with the depth in the system a bit. But I think that was an okay draft, all things considered. Malhotra is exciting, of course. Obviously, Cutler is exciting. I think a couple of those other guys could be quite exciting too, like Bela and Brugis, or not Bela. Who is the other goalie again? I can't even remember who the other goalie was other than Brugis. Maybe it was Belish. Yeah, maybe it was. I think those two could pan out potentially, so that's a win in my books. Burrow is obviously being 20 years old and it's a medium 6 and being a 65. I think if he plays in the AHL right away, there is a chance he could become a legit top 6 defenseman, so I think that's an okay selection. And of course, Nickel's not really a good selection, so I think all things considered, that's not a bad class. That's not a bad class. Rodriguez is kind of an intriguing one too, maybe a bit. But obviously, it's tough to tell with low top 6s if they're actually going to develop or not. So that's an intriguing draft, but will it work out well for us in the long haul? Who knows? Who knows at this stage? So let's get to the re-sign stage now. Speaking of stages, first and foremost, though, we got to bring back our goalie coach for the NHL. So we'll do that, of course, because we like to make sure that we have ourselves our goalie coaches. He wants to be an NHL head coach, but we ain't letting him do that. He needs to be our goalie coach if he wants to. If he doesn't want to come back, we'll look for a new one. We do still need to think about if we want to keep on to Tourney as a head coach too. I think he should still stay as our head coach, to be honest, but I'll debate about that in a little bit probably. Let's get our scout sign back up here, because obviously these scouts are still important to our team. It's good that the scouts don't retire that often, because I feel like it's pretty easy for me just to hold on to my scouts the entire franchise mode. So let's get these ones all side up here, because they're going to be obviously helping us draft some more players to replace, obviously, the guys that end up retiring. I wonder who's going to be the first guy on this roster to retire. It's probably going to end up being somebody like Klinga or something like that. So that's a little bit scary, but obviously, hopefully that doesn't come for another year, couple years at least. All right, re-sign stage. The worst time of year. Actually, no, it's not really the worst time of year, but it's just a little bit scary. Because letting go people and all that. I am going to be signing a couple people to their ELCs for sure. So Krejci is a defenseman that we drafted a couple years ago, I think. He's obviously ready for the AHL, so we're going to sign him up. We're also going to sign Cutler, who we just drafted, of course, because he's quite exciting. And I'm thinking already about signing Malhotra. He's only 17 years old, too, so he should be a pretty good player right off the hop in the minors. If I go to RFAs, actually UFAs, is there any AHLers I'd let go of to replace those guys? I could replace, I could let go of somebody like Romano or Blatter. Blatter's only a low 6. Both these guys could be maybe let go of, because there is also some other prospects down here that might be ready for the AHL. I'm going to definitely let go of some of the guys that aren't going to pan out, though, just because there's no chance that they need contracts. Like, even this low top 9, 67 out of 21 is not that great, to be honest, so I'm going to let him walk. I am going to sign Holinka, though, because maybe he has some upside. We also need more right wingers, like I said. A lot of these guys are like fringe NHLers, some of them. Like, I wouldn't mind holding on to some of them just in case of any injuries and all that. So maybe I would let go of more Blatter and Romano and then just keep Camper and Retzer and Helmer just in case we need those guys for the NHL. Might not be a bad option. We're going to obviously sign all the RFA players. Oh, wow. Okay, max AHL contract. There you go. Some of them are only going to get 1-year deals, though, just because we got to let them go eventually. Our HL team, though, should be good, I think, again next season, too. Permitted that, obviously, the loss of, like, some good AHL talent, like I said, the goalies and all that coming up to the NHL, it doesn't make a huge impact on them. Appleby, let's give you a 1-year deal as well, just because I'm a little bit nervous about giving multiple years to AHL guys. I'll come back to all the NHL guys in a little bit here. Because I would like to hold on to maybe some of the depth options still, like Miller and Nichols and all that, but letting go of like Barrett, Bradford, Mullen might all make sense. Law and Urquhart also would make sense for sure. It's weird about the goalie situation still, because I think Coach would probably be a good backup option. He also only wants a 1-year deal, which is a nice little trial run, so I'm already going to give it to him. But I'm not too sure if I want to bring Ambull in as well, because then that gives us 3 NHL goaltenders, basically. And Ambull is only 25, but technically he's already older than Simic when you think about it. So, do we need Ambull? Ambull only wants a 1-year deal at $1 million. For an 80-30, that's not bad. It would walk him right again to free agency, but it would give us a little bit more internal competition with our goalies. If one gets injured, we have a fail-safe option in case. Yeah, you know what? That's not a bad idea. Since we need an injury option in case, like I said, if Simic goes down with an injury, we need the next best man. I don't really want to be running just Coach and some AHL goalie. So instead, I'm going to sign Ambull. Ambull will probably start as our NHL backup. And if he doesn't play good, maybe we would think about waiving him and letting him get claimed. But Coach will probably start in the AHL with Tambellini down there potentially, just to see. And then, like I said, that way we have injury options or other options we could go to in the playoffs too. So I think it's okay to sign multiple NHL goalies, but obviously we're kind of stunting growth by playing in the minors a bit more. But it's just to play it safe with injuries right now. Hextall is also going to get actually his ELC too, which does play a little bit of a problem for the goalies in the minors though. So maybe we will keep Coach as a healthy scratch in the NHL or scratch Ambull. I might just play both of them. Like, I could alternate who's the backup for like a bit. I'm never going to scratch Simic, of course. Yeah, we could definitely kind of maybe do like a 3-headed goaltending system. I'm not too sure exactly, but that definitely means Forster's gone. There's no way he could come back. Because or else we'd have 4 NHL goaltenders, which is insane. Let's get to the rest of these RFAs here, first and foremost. Kuda, what do you want? That's not too bad. You would be an RFA again at the end of the year, but you know what? We're going to take you on that 1-year deal. Just to give you a little bit of a trial run to see if you're actually still good enough. Fernandez, I would like to sign long-term maybe, but he's not the most insane player. He is also kind of wanting too much money maybe. $4.65 million for 2 years isn't bad at all, but you look at his numbers. Regular season, he's had a career high of 42 points. Playoffs, he was fantastic, though. 15 points in 18 games. And he is listed as a second liner. Like, I could give him this trial run contract, but he would be a UFA by the end of it, which is a bit risky. But I think we got to be a little bit risky here at this stage and see how good he is in these 2 years. Because I just don't know if I could commit to him long term. And then obviously he only puts up 20 points or something would suck. So let's go for 4.225 for 2 years. Give him a little trial run and see if he's ready to take that next step like he was in the playoffs. Aside from that, Richardson and Pollock, these guys are both going to be wanting a lot of money. Richardson wants 7.625, which honestly, not bad considering he has full organizational interest. So I'm going to lower this down quite a bit here. I know he's not going to be getting a ton of ice time like he was hoping for, but 6.75 for 4 years should be fine. So we'll do that. Could have gave him a clause, but I'm not going to do that. And then Pollock is going to be very expensive because he's an offensive defenseman. He wants 3 years at 9.1 and doesn't have organizational interest really, and he's going to be a pending UFA by the end of it. Honestly, it is a very steep contract, but we might have to make it work. I can't even give him a clause because he's not eligible yet. I'm going to try and talk him down by at least a bar. Maybe a little bit more than a bar even. Can I get you for like 7.975? Because that wouldn't be as bad. I know it would be walking into free agency potentially, but I'm hoping that we'd have the cap space by then that I could just basically give him what he wants then. I just don't think I could actually give him an 8-year deal because I don't think he'll accept it. He has 8 years. He'd want 12.4245, which is a bit of a risk at this stage, I feel like. So let's do a 3-year deal. 7.975. I could qualify him and try and get him for less, but I don't mind signing him for multiple years right now. And then in terms of UFAs, like I said, Urquhart's probably gone, Law's probably gone. We'll take a look at what they're demanding in a little bit, but let's free up a little bit of room in the AHL. Romano and Blatter, I'm going to let go of both of you guys just to free up some space for a couple AHLers. Let's sign Burrows as well, like I was saying, as that other AHL defenseman in case. And I am going to sign Malhotra as well already at the age of 17. And then hopefully he can play with some good players down there and get a lot of growth within a season. And then we're going to sign some more filler options in a little bit, I think. Yeah, we're going to sign Miller for sure, still as a filler option. I do like him. He only wants a two-way deal, so that's actually nice for me. I like it when guys only want two-way deals when they're NHL caliber players, so we might as well hold on to a couple of them because I think they're cost effective. And like we could use some of them as depth options, to be honest, too. So I think this is good for us to get a couple of these guys signed in case there's any injuries, because if we get into an injury-riddled season and we don't have the depth, that's where we're obviously going to start to drop off considerably, and we don't want that. So that's why I'm re-signing all these veterans still that are AHLers. I probably will bring them back over some of the NHLers, which is kind of funny, but let's even try and bring back Maltby as a 7th defenseman. See if he'll want to. He actually still has organizational interest, which is kind of surprising. So I might be able to knock him down a little bit in asking price, but I think as a 7th D for him, that would be fine because Ullman obviously will be the new top 6 defenseman with Urquhart being gone. So let's advance today and see if anybody rejected their contract offer. Let's see if anybody rejected. I don't know if that coach accepted or not. I didn't read what he said, but let's see if anybody rejects their contracts. Hopefully they all accept. And I think everybody's accepting. Yeah, even Pollock accepted, so that's good. So we got all the RFAs dealt with, which is huge. We have $18 million on the dot in cap space. Damn, that's actually kind of insane. But almost all these guys might be gone. That's the only thing. We're actually at 50 out of 50 contracts if we do not let these guys go. Like I said, I think obviously there's going to be some replacements in the bottom 6, because obviously if we go to in the system again and we go to centers, actually he's not in the system anymore, I guess, technically. Yeah, Henry's definitely going to be taking the job from Mullen, I think. And then obviously Burkhart's going to take a job from Mullen as well, technically. Do I want to let go of Barrett, though? Barrett's only 29, Mullen's 32. And how old was Bradford? 28. I might be able to bring back Bradford, but I'm not sure what their asking price even is. Mullen is trying to get... Ooh, $3 million. That's actually kind of high for his overall. He wants a multi-year deal, too. He's a good player. Don't get me wrong. He's actually listed as a third-line scoring forward, surprisingly. But I think I have to let him walk. He's played over 1,000 games with Europe. But he is an intriguing player. Like I said, he had a 24-goal season one year, and he's been a consistent at least 10-goal guy for the most part. It would be nice to hold on to him and have him win a Stanley Cup with this team. Like, he's honestly a guy that could have been a captain on this roster probably, but I just don't think I could justify $3 million. What about Bradford? What is he wanting? 2.875, so that's even cheaper. And he does have the organizational interest that I could drop him down to like 2.5 or 2.6. So that's not bad. Tough to say if I should give him that or not. Barrett as a center, what is he wanting? 2.5. Damn, that's actually not bad either. And he also has organizational interest that I could get him down to like probably 2.25. And he actually can win faceoffs. The only thing is he might complain about his ice time, but I think I'm going to hold on to Barrett and then let go of Bradford and Mullen. Because Barrett, like I said, he has actually some really good defensive awareness too, so it's not like he's going to be a liability down there in the bottom 6. And he can win faceoffs. Mullen obviously is a center/left winger, but his faceoff stats are actually pretty trash. So he'd be basically a full-on left winger, which he's going to get replaced by that guy in the AHL and Berkowitz, or whatever you pronounce his last name like. Bradford is kind of an intriguing one. He's only 28. Does have okay defensive awareness, but at the same time, he was complaining a bit about ice time recently. He's not a hugely great offensive player because he's in a little bit of a lower role with this team. So I think the only one I'd bring back out of the three of those guys is Barrett. So we're probably going to say goodbye to Bradford and Mullen for sure. What about guys like Law and Urquhart again? Law wants $5 million in only 1 year. I know that Senator Taku was saying that 5 million was too much. 5 million plus for a 30, 40 point guy. Yeah, it's kind of true. But he does have somewhat decently high organizational interest. It's kind of interesting because he wants a modified no trade clause. If we change this to a full-on no trade clause, we could probably even get him for lower than that. I honestly could probably get him for like 4.5, which isn't bad, but he is listed as a second liner is the only problem. And if I play him as a third liner, would he complain? He would be getting still a lot of penalty kill time. That's another thing with Law that we got to take into account. He's a very good defensive forward. Like, he's been playing on our penalty kill for a lot of his career. He's got 8 short-handed goals and 16 short-handed points. His ice time has dwindled a bit, but he is a really important short-handed player for our team. But he also takes a lot of penalties, so is he even out there a lot? That's the real question. Let me look at it, who would be our left wingers this season if I did let go of Law. Klinga would be the first line. Berkowitz would probably have to be third line, and Kuda could be still fourth line or something like that. I honestly might have to hold on to Law for a year. Yeah, I think with our left wing depth, I might have to, because I am, like I said, letting go of Mullen, who would normally be playing left wing. Berkowitz, I'm okay with probably playing as a third line left winger. Kuda would probably be playing fourth line or something like that, but we don't really have a lot of left wingers other than that. So I think even though it would make sense to let go of him, it might have to happen. McElhinney technically has played left wing as well, actually, for that matter. So basically, by that logic, it'd be Klinga, McElhinney, Law still third line, Berkowitz would be fourth line. Unless we played McElhinney back on his right side, but that's where Nakamura is. So, yeah, I guess I could technically still let go of Law by that logic, since we're playing McElhinney's left winger. But would it be too weak to have Kuda as a third line left wing and Berkowitz as a fourth line left wing, or vice versa? I'm not sure. I feel like our forward group is definitely going to be dropped off a little bit, but we kind of have to make these decisions. So yeah, I think I am going to still let go of Law. I think I'm going to. And then Urquhart, I think I can't really justify bringing back because of Pollock and Richardson being top 4 defensemen. Urquhart's trying to get, a massive, massive deal, and he doesn't have that organizational interest, so we'd probably even have to pay him over 13, which would be more than most players on this team. So, unfortunately, we're going to have to say goodbye to majority of these guys, and including Forster, too, which Forster, obviously, like I said, I can't justify bringing him back with the goalie situation. He's very cheap, but unfortunately, I just can't bring him back with the current goalie situation, so I think we're going to have to say goodbye to every free agent here except for Barrett. So I am going to bring back Barrett on the 1-year deal. I could bring back any of these guys that we let go of in this episode as a free agent in the future if they're still playing. So just keep that in mind that we could bring them back at any point if we see them in free agency. So Barrett, hopefully he'll accept that. But I am going to have to let go of everybody else. So this is probably the toughest offseason I've had in a draft to glory in quite some time, but it's not due to cap constraints. It's more because the guy's pushing people out of the lineup and all that. So let's do our due diligence and say goodbye to all these dudes. So first and foremost, Urquhart, 2nd round pick. Very much a defensive defenseman, but it's kind of insane that he actually grew as good as he did. Like I said, I expected him more to be just a full-on 83, 84 overall top 4 defenseman, and somehow he became an elite player, which is kind of insane. So shout out to him. Good luck to him in free agency. He's probably going to secure the bag. So there he goes. Tough one to let go of, but it makes sense. Next, we're going to say goodbye to the physical defensive forward in Law. It is going to be a little bit worrisome about how good our penalty kill will be without him. But 375 points, 892 games. Minus 114 is not very good, but obviously that was during our bad stretches. Over 1,500 penalty minutes. This guy's going to go on to probably end up fighting some players on our team at some point in time, I guess. But sucks to let him go. He was a 3rd overall pick, but we had to reach and take him because there was nobody else that year. So shout out to Jared Law, the Law man. He's going to be gone as well. Tough one. Jeez, this is like it could be a franchise-altering offseason, basically, for us. All right, next up we have Bradford and Mullen. Bradford, when was he drafted again? Second round as well, 2030, so 10 years ago. Hasn't been getting as much ice time in the last little while, but he was a 42-point guy at one point in time. 240 career points. A pretty bad career plus minus, but a very disciplined player. Doesn't take a lot of penalties. And in the playoffs, 20 points in 58 games is decent. So I feel like he's been a better playoff performer than a regular season guy. But unfortunately, we're going to have to let him go to free agency as well. And I don't know where he's going to sign, but best of luck to him too. So there goes Bradford. And then Mullen as well, another guy like I just mentioned. We looked at his stats already, but over 1,000 games with this team. And definitely a decent depth goal scoring option, but playoffs doesn't really do a whole lot for us. So we're going to have to say goodbye to him too. Former third round pick in 2027 at 67th overall. Best of luck to him as a free agent. And lastly, the other one is going to be Akeem Forster, and this one is a very tough one as well. Third round pick, 67th overall as well, 2029. Our first ever goalie in a franchise mode to score a goal, but unfortunately, we're going to have to let him go. 910 career save percentages, really nice. 1 goal, 7 assists, 8 points. Really sucks that we have to let him walk. And yeah, good playoff goaltender at times too, but looks like he's been dwindling the last little bit anyways. So unfortunately, he has to go too. So best of luck to Akeem Forster. And hopefully none of these guys end up playing us next year in the playoffs. Simic actually lost morale because Forster left. That's kind of a surprising one. All right, well, let's advance today and get Barrett signed up here, which he should be accepting relatively soon, I would assume. And yep, there he is on board, which means we're at 45 out of 50 contracts. We have 16.8 million in cap space. If there's any former players that we could bring back, we can. But let's see if we actually need anything first and foremost. So our NHL centers would be comprised of Green, Rankin, Barrett, and Henry. Fernandez will probably be playing on the wing, I'd assume. Like as the third line right winger or something like that. There is a chance Mahala cracks the NHL. Miller might be a depth forward. Left wing side of things, Klinga, Kuda, Brickwitz. And then like I said, Nichols might be a depth option as well. Right wing side of things, Hiromis, Nakamura, McElhinney. Helmer might be a depth option, who knows. And then from a defensive standpoint, Paco Lee, Pau Polak, Richardson, Maltby, Ullman. Because Ullman will probably be the 6th defenseman, Maltby will be the 7th. So that's how that would run. And in goaltending, Simic Ambul or Simic Coach. We could probably alternate between the two of these guys and see who ends up playing better. But the NHL is pretty stacked for goalies. Tambellini's probably going to be an NHL goalie, but it started next season too, which is the crazy thing. But it's going to be him and Hextall probably in the AHL. And then Bela and Blugis unsigned. So there we go. All right. Well, I don't think we're going to bring back anybody because I feel like we already have a bit of a logjam and we don't have a lot of contract space. But obviously, we're going to have to find out where our former players end up signing and all that. Looks like our NHL goalie coach did not come back. So I guess I'm going to have to try and bring him back again or find somebody else here. So let's see if there's any good goalie coaches to bring back because obviously we need to make sure that we're still a good team in terms of goaltending this season. It sucks that obviously we have to let go of Forster, but Simic is still an important player to this team, of course, so we got to make sure he's doing well. Is there any other new NHL coaches that are interesting, or no? There's some A-plus coaches like John Hines and Havlat, 46, 51 for Havlat. I don't really need to bring back an NHL head coach yet. I might look at the start of the season again just to see if there's anybody with good chemistry or not, but I think for the time being, we'll probably keep it the same. So we'll go with that. All right. Let me go to free agency for a second just because I need to make sure I write down all the names I just let go of so we could take a look at where they signed at the end of this episode. That way you guys are intrigued to stick around till the end if you weren't already. But anyways, Urquhart was obviously the big one, so I got to write down Urk. We also let go of course, Law. So Urquhart, Law. Obviously, there's Forster we let go of. There was Bradford, I think, as well. There was Mullen. And I think that was all I let go of, right? That was big. And there's another Urquhart in free agency, too. That's actually kind of funny. Yeah, I think those were all the big guys I let go of. I might have forgot somebody's name. Hopefully I didn't, though. But we'll look at where all 5 of those guys signed in a little bit here. Yeah, I think that's it. Perfect. All right, do we need to do any offseason focuses on this team? Trying to think if there's anybody young enough that might need a boost in some area. I don't really know. I could try and keep on working on Fernandez's faceoffs because obviously he is a centerman by trait, but he hasn't been that good at the draw yet still. So we've been using him more as a winger, so might as well try and get him better in that spot. Aside from that, let's keep on trying to pump Polak into being a really good offensive defenseman for us. And let's see. Let's go with skill training. I honestly don't even know, but let's just keep on getting him good. Apparently he's got some of the sickest hands in the league, but we might as well try and make his hands so good that he literally could dangle anybody, I guess. Aside from that, Berkowitz is making the NHL. I guess we could maybe try and see if we could get him scoring some goals this season. So let's just get his offensive awareness up there a little bit. Because obviously this is going to be his first NHL season, and I want him to fit in well, that he can maybe be a top 6 player that could replace somebody like McElhinney on the road. So, and then Henry is obviously a centerman also by trait. He's not got great faceoffs, but he is a grinder, so he is probably going to just cap out as a 4th-line center, so we need to get him better at faceoffs, so that way he can maybe win some draws on that 4th line, of course. So that's important. And aside from that, though, I don't think there's anybody else I need to focus on in the NHL. There is probably some in the AHL that we could maybe focus on. But do I really care that much? I'm not too sure. I'm honestly not too sure. I don't think I will. I'll leave it like that and just hope that there's some natural growth there. So I think we are good to sim up to next season. So let's begin that quest and see what our team is looking like, as we do get Hammerlick in as that NHL goalie coach, which is good. He's a good teacher, even though he doesn't have a good overall, but I'm excited to see what our team's looking like in terms of our lineup, because having a couple new faces in that bottom 6, maybe it'll give us some better chemistry down there. If it doesn't, of course, we could still look for new coaches and all that, but this team is definitely going through a little bit of an overhaul. But I think we shouldn't drop off too drastically. Even if we drop off and we don't win the President's Trophy, that might not be that bad. Maybe we'll find a way to squeak into the playoffs and find a way to win a cup that way. So I don't mind it if we do regress a bit, but I hope that obviously we're still in the playoff spot. So let's get this roster set up here and see what we're working with here. So goaltenders. Right now are Simic and Amboul. And like I said, I would like, oh my goodness, Coach and Tamplin are 81s. That's why I didn't really want to bring in Amboul this season. I wanted to let him maybe go to free agency, because these two guys could easily take a backup role here too. I'm probably going to leave Tambellini in the AHL, but I am going to call up Coach as the other option. Actually, how old is Tambellini? 23. Coach is 23 too? Yeah. Let's call up Coach as that other third goaltender. Does Coach go through waivers? He doesn't. That's actually fantastic. All right, that's actually exactly what I was hoping for. So by that logic, actually, maybe I should... Yeah, no, what? Tambellini will be in the AHL because he does go through waivers. Coach being on no waivers is great, because that means we could run Simic and Amboul, and we could play also Coach occasionally. And if Coach doesn't play good in his games, we could send him down. And he wouldn't go through, he wouldn't get claimed or anything. He'd just go right to waivers. And then we'd probably play him in the AHL. We could scratch Hextall potentially, but he is technically a goalie prospect and he's younger. So maybe I would scratch Tambellini. But yeah, Coach will have a chance to stay in the NHL for a little bit, at least at the beginning. Defensively, Paco Lee, Polak, Powell, Richardson, Ullman, yeah, Maltby is a 74. Geez, Maltby's not going to be happy with his ice time, but that's okay. Foligno's up to a 74 as a low 4. That's not bad. Krejci, that's good. On defense, we have 7 defensemen in the AHL. Who would I scratch so Burrows could play? Not really sure. Nold's an important defensive prospect down there, so might have to end up being somebody like Dimitra that gets scratched. Aside from that, in the NHL, right wingers, we got Romas, Nakamura, McElhinney's obviously playing more left wing, but looks decent there. Appleby's listed as a depth forward, so he could come up if we have roster space if we need it, but I don't think we do yet. Left wing is Klinga, Berkowitz up to a 82. Wow, all right, that's good. Kuda's an 81. That's actually good too, so I like that. Let me double check the AHL here briefly too. Camper 75, that's fine. He could stay down there. Centers, Green 85, Rankin. Yeah, that looks all good. Retzer is a depth forward. It's not a bad option. Barrett's obviously still in the NHL, so I should send down Retzer. And Miller's in the NHL still. Mahalik is not ready yet, so I'll probably wait a year on him. And I could use Appleby as a depth option at this point, to be honest. Yeah, let's do that. Since he's kind of at that make or break point. Yeah, I think that's good. I think that is how I would have it set up. So let's get these lines set up and see what we're working with. Hopefully we could get some good chemistry in some places. But obviously Fernandez is not going to be the fourth liner. He's going to be a third line right winger. I like him in the top six kind of in a way too, but we're probably not going to go with that. Is Hernandez's faceoffs better? They are. 74. Okay, that's good. So we'll play him with Kuda and Berkowitz. That's actually not a bad third line. It's actually a little bit more defensively minded too, I think. Maybe actually not, but still, we'll run with that. Fourth line, Barrett's obviously a third line scoring forward, so he's going to complain about ice time, but is he going to take the center spot from Henry? He probably will, just because he could actually still win faceoffs. Miller can win faceoffs too, but he does makes this line a minus? Yeah, it's got to be Miller. So Miller's got to come out and out, unfortunately, out of the lineup, which means we'll probably play Appleby in the lineup, I guess. I guess we could go with that. Does Appleby win faceoffs out of curiosity? No, he doesn't. I guess I could play Appleby on his off wing. That's not a terrible thing. Henry is listed as a third line checking forward, so he might be a little bit complacent with ice time, but I don't mind this. It is a little bit of a step back in the bottom six. It's not as strong, but it's still good enough that it could win games. Also, we should be able to get people like Fernandez more ice time now, which is good. So I think this is decent. From a defensive standpoint, Lee, Paco, Polak, Powell, Ullman, Richardson, fantastic defensive core and great chemistry there as usual. So we're going to be running with this probably. And it looks fantastic. I think Lee's actually a pending free agent this year too, right? Nope, not this year, next year. Oh boy, that's going to be an expensive contract. We saw how much Polak's getting paid. Then again, we could always use Polak in this spot instead of Lee down the road, but I don't know about putting two offensive defensemen together, but defensive core, very strong, very strong. Goaltending, obviously, strong too. We'll start Bull maybe as the backup and then give Coach a game, see what he's like too, but Bull we could always put on waivers as well if we really want him just to leave this team. If he's really bad early in the season, like for instance, if we simulate 20 games and he's played like 5 games and he's like got an 820 save percentage or below a 900 save percentage, we could easily just waive him and let him go. And then we could put in, obviously, Coach as that backup spot instead. So you guys can let me know on that. And then the depth options would be Maltby, Miller, and then obviously Coach right now. Power play, obviously, and stuff like this, I could readjust it afterwards. But if you guys have some suggestions for the power play, let me know. This first power play unit looks really good, though. Second unit doesn't look as good in chemistry, but still some decent players. A lot of forwards on it, so maybe I'd make Polak run his own unit instead. So you guys can let me know on that. And aside from the power play, the penalty kill, it looks okay still without Law. Henry would be getting some penalty kill time. I don't know about having Appleby on the penalty kill, though, to be honest. So that's probably something I would change up here and give to Kuda instead or something, since he's a two-way. That actually gets rid of the minus, which is good. Kuda shouldn't be on this unit then. And we'd probably put somebody like, who's good defensively? McElhinney actually has a lot of takeaways, so I'd put him there probably. Yeah, something like that. And then, of course, extra lines, we could adjust that too. So if you guys have any suggestions for power play lines, penalty kill lines, please let me know. Aside from that, let's go best lines in the AHL here quickly and see if there's anybody scratch that shouldn't be. I want Burroughs and Malhotra playing. So I am going to be taking out a veteran like Helmer. And then Malhotra will be getting that playing time. I am going to be taking Cutler off this fourth line for a second here as well, though. Because I want Cutler on the first line. Which means Nichols will get scratched in the AHL, but that's okay. So we'll go with... Actually, maybe we could let Nichols play on the fourth line. He's decent defensively, so... But I want my highest prospects to have the best chance, of course. So let's take Retzer as well out for a second here. Just so we can do some swaps and stuff. Put Retzer in this spot, and then put Mahalik on that top line too. I actually really like the looks of this top line for the AHL. Cutler, Mahalik, and Malhotra. All those guys have some decent potential, so... Hopefully they get some growth there. And we can't really get rid of that -1 on that second line, but that's okay. Defensively, we were going to take Dimitra out of the lineup or Racuna because they're both old. We'll probably go with Dimitra and get Burrows a chance to get some growth down there. There we go. Perfect. And goalies, of course, Tambellini and Hextall for the time being. Perfect. That looks good. That looks good. Our HL team has some good prospects in it. I'm excited to see how they grow this season. And then hopefully our NHL team is still good this season technically. So last thing we got to take a look at is where all our former players signed. There's 5 of them. I know technically this episode is going to be a little bit long because of this, but I do want to know where all those guys signed already. And typically I always wait till the next episode to do it. But I honestly need to know now where all those guys signed. There's some pretty big players to let go of, so I want to know if they were on divisional rivals or anything like that. So we're going to start with the lower end players. We're going to start off with Mullen, of course, as one of those 4th line options. Guy that has over 1,000 games on this team, which is insane. He signed with the Vegas Golden Knights. So he's going to be joining a team that just had the 1st overall pick. And he got a 2-year deal for him. Nice. $2,995. Not bad of a contract. And he does go to play in Vegas. I wonder if he's going to be playing in their lineup. Because if they are a rebuilding team, he's probably still like a bottom 6 option, but maybe he gets some power play time with them. So good luck to Earl Mullen as a Vegas Golden Knight. Aside from that, we also let go of Bradford on that right wing side of things, just due to ice time and all that. So the real question is, where did he sign? He signed with the Seattle Kraken. All right, a couple of guys joining some newer teams, if you want to say them, they're new teams. But he signed there on a 2.74 contract for 2 years, so similar to Mullen's contract. Good luck to him this season. I think if he gets power play time, he could be really solid offensively still because he's got good awareness and passing. But I just don't think there was really a spot for him on our team much longer. So good luck to him in Seattle. At least there's both Western Conference teams. Next up, we will look at, I guess, Law, the physical specimen himself. Where is he going to start his fighting next? Minnesota. Interesting. Another Western Conference team. I don't mind that they all went to the West, but at the same time, that means that we could face off against them in the Stanley Cup Finals, which makes it a little bit scary. And for some reason, Law has exact elite potential, which is kind of weird. Went up to an 86 as a free agent, but he signed a $7.75 million contract for 1 year. So only a 1-year deal for him in Minnesota, but he does get 7.75. So that's definitely more than what we would have given him. We could have got him for under 5 maybe, but best of luck to him in Minnesota. Maybe he'll be a free agent again soon and we could bring him back to fight some people, but not at that asking price. All right, next up, we'll take a look at Forster, the goalie that scored a goal in the series. Maybe will go down as one of the best Europe goalies of all time. He signed with, let's see, goalies, the Utah Mammoth. All right. So I wonder if he's going to be their starter or backup. But he got a 1-year deal at 2.9. So there is a chance that Forster could be a free agent again at the end of the year, which is kind of nice if we wanted to bring him back ever. But good luck to him in Utah. Obviously, former Jennings winner. And we'll see if he actually plays good on a different team that is not us. And lastly, Urquhart, the highest overall defenseman on this team that was not Paco or Lee. A very underrated defenseman in a way. Like I said, he was a 2nd-round pick, and he randomly panned out. He signed with the Boston Bruins, so he has joined Dave Antonio in Boston. Unless Dave Antonio left by now, but that's kind of insane. Boston has signed 2 of our highest paid defenders that we let go of. So he signed in Boston on a no movement clause, $14.37 million on the open market for 7 years. Wow. So Boston likes paying our former defenders apparently, but shout out to Josh Urquhart for securing an absolute bag. Like I said, he's a great defensive defenseman. I liked Antonio as well, who was a DFD, but that is a massive, massive contract. At 29 for 7 years, I mean, it would take him until he's like 36, which isn't bad, I guess, but that's a lot of money. And the fact that it's a no movement clause throughout is a little bit risky for them, but at the same time, good on Boston to bring in some of our former players. Do they still have Dave Antonio too? The answer is yes, they do. They're literally their best defensemen are our former guys. And they're paying both of them a combined like $27 million. That's insane. So shout out to those guys. Both of them are signed long-term too. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. That's kind of interesting. Speaking of Antonio, how has he done since leaving us? 30 points last season. Not bad. He's still pretty consistent. Great plus minus as usual. Playoffs, hasn't had really much experience with them so far. All right. But that's kind of neat. That's kind of neat. At least Urquhart and Antonio reunited. They're likely playing together as a pairing, which is kind of neat too. But they're by far the best defenders that have that are in Boston's lineup. So gonna be interesting to see how Boston does with the two of our former shutdown demons. So, anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for this episode of your United Draft to Glory franchise mode. I'm almost speaking too fast here. But in next episode, anyways, we'll be taking it to another season simulation. We'll see how this team does. I think this team still should be good, even though we technically let go of some pretty high-end players this offseason. I think we'll still have a good enough season where we should make the playoffs. And if we do make the playoffs, hopefully it is a good run for us. I'm just excited to see, obviously, how all the young faces do in the NHL and in those also guys in the minors as well. So, anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.